Right now, if the lights in your house went out and you had to walk outside into complete darkness, your heart would probably start racing. That fear feels instinctive, like it's hardwired into you. But here's something strange. For millions of years before fire, our ancestors didn't fear the dark the way you do. They didn't fear it at all because they weren't out in it. There was no fear to have because there was no decision to make. When the sun went down, they simply stopped existing in that space. So when exactly did humans start being afraid of the night? The answer isn't as old as you think, and it completely changes how we understand fear itself. Before fire, our ancestors lived like every other primate on the African savanna. When daylight faded, they didn't fight the darkness, they avoided it entirely. They climbed into trees, found rock shelters, or huddled in tight groups in whatever safe spot they could find before the light disappeared. And then, they simply stayed still until morning. This wasn't caution. It was survival math. Human eyes are almost useless in low light compared to the animals hunting us. Leopards, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, all of them had superior night vision, sharper hearing, and the ability to move silently through terrain we could barely navigate in daylight. Moving at night wasn't brave. It was suicide. So early humans didn't fear the dark emotionally, the way you might picture a caveman cowering. They simply obeyed it, the same way a rabbit obeys the presence of a hawk circling overhead. There was no internal conflict. There was just behavior shaped by millions of years of predators eating the individuals who got that decision wrong. Then fire changed everything. And this is where the story gets interesting. The earliest solid evidence of controlled fire dates back roughly 1 million years, found at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. For the first time, humans had a tool that could push back the predators that owned the night. A campfire creates a rough zone of safety, about 30 feet across, and predators generally won't cross into it. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Fire didn't just protect humans. It created an entirely new relationship with darkness. For the first time, humans weren't hiding from the night. They were sitting right at its edge, staring into it, watching shapes and shadows move just beyond the firelight. And that's precisely when fear, real psychological fear, likely began. Think about what fire actually does to your perception. Inside the circle of light, you can see clearly. Outside it, your vision drops to almost nothing, but your other senses stay fully alert. You can hear movement in the brush. You can hear a branch snap. But you can't see what caused it. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have found that this exact scenario, sitting near a fire at the edge of darkness, produces measurable anxiety responses, even in people whose entire lives are spent outdoors. Before fire, there was no edge. There was just full darkness or full safety. Fire created a boundary, and boundaries are where fear is born. You can't be afraid of a threshold that doesn't exist. Once fire drew that line between light and dark, the unknown officially had a location, right on the other side of it. This is also, most researchers believe, where storytelling as we know it began. Anthropologist Polly Wisner spent years recording conversations among the Juyu Huanzi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth living something close to humanity's original lifestyle. She found that daytime conversation was almost entirely practical, logistics, complaints, resource planning. But at night, around the fire, the entire tone shifted. The vast majority of nighttime conversation became stories, myths, tales of danger from distant places, warnings about what lurks beyond the light. Wiesner's theory is that fire didn't just give humans extra hours in the day, it gave them a stage and an audience sitting inside a boundary of safety, staring out at a darkness that was, for the first time, something to talk about, something to fear together as a group. And that group fear mattered because it kept people alive. A child who grew up hearing stories about monsters in the dark didn't need to personally get killed by a predator to learn the lesson. The fear could be transmitted through language instead of through death. This is an enormous evolutionary advantage. Instead of every generation learning through fatal trial and error, fire and storytelling let humans pass down survival knowledge purely through words spoken at night, around a flame, precisely at the moment when the danger felt most real. By the time humans started building permanent settlements, this fear of the dark had become deeply embedded in culture itself. In medieval Europe, walking outside after dark without a lantern was, in many towns, literally illegal. The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire, a nightly bell that told everyone to extinguish their flames and get indoors, because night was understood to belong to danger, to criminals, to the supernatural. This wasn't superstition without a cause. It was the distant cultural memory of a boundary our ancestors created 1,000,000 years earlier, the moment we first sat inside a circle of firelight and realized there was a difference between the world we could see and the world we couldn't. So the fear you feel walking into a dark room isn't some ancient animal instinct passed down unchanged from before fire. It's something stranger. It's a fear we essentially built ourselves, the moment we gained enough safety to have something worth being afraid of losing. Before fire, there was no fear of the dark, only obedience to it. Fire didn't remove that danger completely. It just gave us a front row seat to imagine everything that might still be out there. And in a way, we've never really left that fire. Every streetlight, every phone flashlight, every porch light left on out of habit is still drawing that same boundary our ancestors drew 1,000,000 years ago. A small circle of safety with something unknown waiting just past the edge of it.